So Black Widow and Anti-Venom go up against a Symbiote Army. Widow and her symbiote are still hunting down this weapon that could kill all symbiotes, and some really weird stuff is going on at Alchemax that we gotta talk about here. Welcome back to Keepin the Comic, and we're picking up on another Venom War tie-in. This one is Venomous issue number 1. Now previously before here on the channel, we did cover a prologue to this, which was Black Widow Venomous. So this one is a follow-up to that here. So Natasha and her symbiote Sliver, who by the way together are called Widow, which is perfectly not confusing. Now they're at a black market auction. So in comes this guy here named Dr. Freck, who apparently is an old Alchemax employee. He discusses how the world's biggest threat in the world right now are the symbiotes, and now he has invented what he calls a fail-safe, which is a formula that he has invented called K42T. Now this is a specific formula that is created to control and neutralize symbiotes. In order to show the effectiveness of this formula, he states how he first needs to create a symbiote first, which just sounds incredibly dangerous. So he brings in a patient, right, who he intends to inject with a symbiote tissue sample. A patient who, by the way, looks like someone this dude just pulled off the street, because he's just like, what, where am I? Now, once he starts to prep the bag here, we see Natasha kind of perk up a little bit. And while Sliver is asking her the question, yo, can we move now? But Natasha, she still wants to hold on to see exactly what this doctor is about to do. Now, after he injects the symbiote tissue, we see this man's whole body get cloaked with symbiote flesh. Now, Dr. Freck is trying to tell everyone to remain calm, because he's just like, yo, this is exactly what I created the formula for in the first place. And then he says, once the efficacy is displayed, we can start the bidding at, and before this dude can even finish that sentence, the symbiote gets even bigger. And then Dr. Freck's whole demeanor changes, and he's like, oh shoot, this thing might kill us all. So Natasha's like, all right, now Sliver, now we go. While Dr. Freck gets tossed like all the way across the room, you know, they both catch him and then they web him to the wall and let him know, listen, we'll clean up your mess. Now Nat asks Sliver if she can actually talk to the symbiote, but Sliver reveals that she can't because the symbiote is mindless. Now, Freck offers to help, but Sliver doesn't trust him, and with good reason, because she knows that all this dude wants to do is kill it. But Nat just lets her know we may not have a choice in this one, because let's be real, a mindless symbiote, all that thing is gonna want to do is just to keep on feeding. So Widow ends up getting wrapped up in this mindless symbiote here, but Sliver broke down into many little Widow spiders, which I actually think is really cool, and then kind of like blinds him for a second here, while Natasha was able to get the vial from Dr. Freck. She ends up stabbing the symbiote with it, and then we see the man get released from its grip. Now the man is still alive, but this dude is not in good shape. By the way, do you see that pose that Widow's doing over that man? Listen, I might have to tell my wife to do that same pose a little bit later on for research purposes, of course. Let's move on. So Widow goes to retrieve the rest of the formula, right? But Freck mentions how he only made enough for the auction, and how the sample that he got from Alchemax was weak. However, he does mention how he has the information written down in this like little book that he pulls out of his pocket. Now, Freck is just another rogue scientist that basically has been creating symbiote killing formulas. Now, in the prologue to this here in the Black Widow Venomous book or issue, I should say, Widow was able to track down another scientist that had created another formula that they were able to capture, although we didn't find out exactly what that one was called. Meanwhile, we also have Carnage in his own Venom War tie-in, also tracking down answers about Alchemax's K program, because he's been targeted by another dose of chemicals as well. And also remember, in the previous Venom War videos that I've done, I have mentioned K43 multiple times. That was another drug or formula that was used to develop to kill symbiotes. So Sliver takes the book from Freck, right, and rips the entire thing to pieces. Then she proceeds to consume a lot of his mind, which then basically leaves him in what looks like a vegetated state. So later on, Widow heads over to Alchemax in Manhattan, where she unexpectedly meets up with Flash Thompson, aka Anti-Venom. Now, Flash mentions how he's following up on a lead on Carnage, who, as I mentioned, is on a rampage right now, trying to get answers on the K program. he is looking for some help here from Liz Allen, who at this time is the CEO of Alchemax, as we mentioned here in the main Venom War storyline. Liz has also bonded with her own symbiote in a previous comic, I think it was like Carnage issue number 7, and went by the name Misery. Man, I'm just telling you, there's just so many symbiotes now, and everybody just bonding with symbiotes. It's kind of getting crazy here. So Natasha kind of gives us, as the viewers, right, the impression that Liz doesn't know that she has hired some shady characters within her company. So kind of like leaving Liz here off the hook. So they both head down to the sub level of this building, right? And when they drop down, they see what looks like zombie symbiotes who look like workers from Alchemax. So it looks like they were doing some testing, and then some things just basically got out of hand here, just like back at the auction. So then Sliver mentions the same thing, like how these symbiotes are mindless and they are pretty much basically just on a rampage here to feed. So Anti-Venom and Widow, they come up with a plan, right, to throw these symbiotes into the cold storage, which wasn't really the smartest idea because that name on the top of that storage unit says cadaver storage. I hope I'm probably pronouncing that right, which is where you store dead bodies. What are the zombie symbiotes gonna do? They're just gonna feed on more bodies and then have more bodies to possess. And listen to me, that now puts them in some deep crap. And I don't really know how they get out of this. So we're gonna continue here to follow up on this here on the next time. There is a Zombiotes, Venom War issue that we're probably going to be following up on here, that because this looks like it leads directly into that. Check out our playlist here on the channel where we've basically been covering every issue from Venom War, whether it's the main storyline here or the tie-ins. Check that out here on the channel. Leave a like on this video, guys, for the YouTube algorithm. Join our Discord as well for more updates and talks about your favorite comics. And until next time, thank you so much for kicking it with Keepin the Comic.